Okay, this is Jim Feig, your master photographer back, broadcasting from South Bridge Street Live with my photo of the week. And this week, I've got a photograph that I printed, quite a few years ago. It's in black and white. It's of three girls. Now, if you've got any old black and white photos around like this and they need repair or they need duplicating, go to Chinsky's Photography on Cozy Circle and they can take care of all of these needs. But this is a picture of my three daughters taken back when they were about 5 years old. I call this photograph My Three Twins. Got three girls here. Janet in the center is the oldest. She's 14 months older than Kathy and Christy, the two twins, one on either side. Now, later this week, I'm going to talk about some of the adventures I had raising these girls into very proficient businesswomen. But today I want to talk a little bit more about something I talked about a couple of weeks ago, and that's shoebox photographs. Remember I said that we all know how our grandparents and great-grandparents looked like. We know how they lived. We know what kind of house they lived in. We know what kind of car they drove or horse and buggy they used because we have photographs of them. And where did we get those photographs? They were in albums and shoeboxes, hidden away in closets. And we found these after our ancestors passed on. What are we going to leave to our children and our grandchildren? Well, we've got our iPhone full of photos, and we've got our iPad full of photos, and we got our iCloud full of photos. And they're all going to disappear when we go. 50 years from now, no one will know what we look like. And that's why I want to promote shoeboxes today. Add photographs like this to a shoebox and hide them in your closet. And let me see what we're going to do. What kind of photographs might you find in that shoebox? There's a typical photograph. You might see that in your shoebox. And we'd like to make that a better photograph. What can you do to this to make it a better photograph? What can we do? Well, we can maybe get in a little bit closer and to get something like that. Does that improve it? Yes, it does. It does indeed. So learn to fill your frame with the photograph when you take it. Get in close. Another thing you'll notice I've done is I've gotten down, or I've gotten my subject up to my eye level. I'm not looking down, on the subject. I'm looking at the subject in the eye. That makes a much better photograph for your shoebox. Another thing to remember is to keep the eyes and the nose, that area of the face, sharp. We want to make sure, especially those eyes, are good and sharp and in detail. That makes a much better photograph. Now, all these photographs I'm showing you are pictures of these three girls or their offsprings. What you're seeing here is the center girl, Janet, when she's gotten a little bit older. Okay, keep your eye, especially the eye, sharp and in focus, and you'll have much better pictures. Another thing you need to do is watch the lighting on your picture. What I've got here, I've got two pictures of one of the young daughters of one of these girls. And you'll notice the lighting on this. These shots were taken out in the sunlight or in indoor regular lighting without any special setup, but I was trying to watch the lighting as close as I could. Notice here I've got half the face lit, fairly brightly, and half the face in some shadow, but not a real harsh shadow. I'm using soft light. Soft light makes better photographs. This is what we would call split lighting, where half the face is lit and half is in dark shadow. Over here on this one, notice the shadow here. I've got a shadow starting on the cheek and going around the eye and around the nose. This is what the photographer would call loop lighting. Notice how it adds a three-dimensional shape to your subject. If you were lighting your subject with, say, the camera flash, or just out in the bright sun with the direct light, you'd get flat lighting without any three-dimensional shape. The shadows on both these pictures give me some three-dimensional shape to my subject, which adds to the appearance of the subject. Fill your shoe boxes with good photos. Don't just put anything in there. Now here's another one that you really have to watch out for. Watch the background. What do you see when you first see that picture? When you see that ugly iron ornament that's growing out of my daughter's hair, right? You don't see, this is Christy over on the far side here. You don't see Christy, you see that ornament. Keep things like that out of the background. Background distractions are one of the worst things that you find in shoebox pictures. Watch for them. And again, you've got a lot of subjects. Make sure you get a lot of pictures of those subjects. Cover your subject from all angles. Now here I have Kathy. That's this girl on the right, and her adopted daughter Carrie. Kathy and Carrie are having a good time together, and I've covered the subject from many different angles here. So cover your subject from all angles. And then give some action to your photographs. Shoebox pictures don't all have to be static. You don't have to have everyone lined up and posed. Line them up and pose them. I call that the firing squad shot, where you force everyone to smile and everyone's unhappy and crying in the end. Here's some action shots. The one on the left is sort of a static action shot. There's some action there, but it was not involving a lot of motion. The one on the right has a lot of motion to it. Now, how did I do that? How did I get a shot like that with all that motion? And notice what it is. It's a picture of Carrie riding on the merry-go-round, and she is fairly stationary, but the background is moving. What I did is called panning. I took the camera and I've picked out a focus point right on Carrie, somewhere in there, focused the camera there and held it there, but I followed Carrie as she moved and kept shooting pictures as I went. So I got 5, 10, maybe 15 pictures with a couple of rounds of that merry-go-round. So as I kept the focus point on her, this part stays relatively in focus. The background is moving in respect to my camera, or my camera is moving in respect to the background, so that is way out of focus and blurred. And any part of Carrie that's moving rapidly, like that hand waving, is also fairly blurred. So take advantage of these kind of techniques. Add these kind of techniques to your shoebox. Make them better pictures. And when it comes to taking people pictures, a spontaneous shot is a way to get some good expressions. If you're going to try to make a person smile and pretty soon they're going to be frowning and grumping. But if you catch a spontaneous shot, we were sitting in a coffee shop up in Austin when I took this, had the camera on the table, picked it up. This is what I saw through the viewfinder. They saw me pick the camera up and they gave me a quick pose. You shoot the camera before they get a chance to change those expressions. This expression here, that's priceless. You don't get an expression like that by trying to make her pose. And the other two expressions are very good too. So be spontaneous when you take your photographs. Be spontaneous. Another thing to think about is let your subjects be themselves, let them react themselves, bring out their character. These are essentially daughters of these girls. These are my 3 granddaughters. These are over here are my 3 daughters. They're reacting in a way that develops their character. They're happy-go-lucky kids. They're having a good time, and take advantage of that. Get that kind of photo into your shoebox. Okay, another one that we don't often do enough of is really get close. I said get closer to your subject. I said let's get really close. And you'll look at that and you say, well, you cut her head off. Yeah, I cut her head off. I meant to. It gave me a nicer picture for what I wanted. I wanted to emphasize again the eyes and the face. And I wanted to get close enough that I could see those. So yeah, I cut the top of the head off, but it didn't hurt the picture one bit. In fact, it made the picture better. So don't hesitate to get close. If you got a close focusing camera, get right in there. Take a picture of an eye. Take a picture of just the eye or something like that. And you'd be surprised what you get sometimes. Again, don't always just include people in the picture. People own things. They have pets. They have automobiles. They have musical instruments. What does your subject do a lot of work with? What do they like? What do they cherish? What are their favorite things? Bring these into the picture. Let the world know 50 or 100 years from now what you and your children were doing. Okay. And there's the nostalgic record. That's the same picture you've got here. Now, I want to talk to you about this a little bit. I've got a certain pose here, and it's showing my 3 daughters. And at one period in time, what they look like in other periods of time. Let's explore that. We can take the same or the similar pose as the person grows older and older and older over a span of time, and you get a record. You get a record. For example, here are these 3 girls at a younger age. There they are, about 3 years old. And same order. That's if I get the twins right. That's Kathy on the left, Janet in the middle, and Christy on the right. And already you see they're developing their own characters. They're becoming their own people. They're doing their own thing. They're having a good time with it. So start out early. Then you go on. This is the 6-year-old picture. This is the 6-year-old picture right here. This is the one we have here, 5 or 6-year-old. They're in the same order. A little bit different pose, same order, but a little bit different pose. I didn't start this idea soon enough. I missed the high school and the college pictures, but I did go on. In fact, this is what gave me the bright idea. This is a picture again, the 3 girls in just about the same identical pose. I have to credit my son-in-law for this picture. He's a better photographer than I am. He took this one. But it was so close to this pose that it gave me this idea of let's keep doing this as time goes on and develop a record of it. So here are the girls in their early 30s, determined young ladies going out to make their name in the world. And let's go on a little further. Here's a fairly current picture. Now they're out of their 30s, they're in their 40s, and they have become successful young business women. They all have their own career, and they've developed it fully, and they're happy with it. And this goes in my shoebox too. So my shoebox contains all of these things. You see the pictures of my daughters, the pictures of my granddaughters. Now, someone 50, 100 years from now can pick these pictures out and say, this is what our family looked like back in the 19 and 20s, the 20 and 21st century, I guess it is. And they've got a record. It's not just a record on your phone or your iPad or hidden up in an iCloud. It's a permanent record that you can hide in a closet and let someone else find. So I encourage you to do this. This is Jim Feig coming to you from South Bridge Street Live. I'll see you later this week with some more about these three girls. Thank you much.